Hey guys, it's Omer from MMOs.com. Another quick week news recap for all major MMO news and announcements of the week ending May 18th, 2020. This is episode number 245 of the recap, and the first of news this week comes from Nexon regarding KartRider Drift. The PC and Xbox version of the old school kart racing MMO is set to begin its second round of closed beta testing on June 3rd. Now keep in mind though, KartRider isn't exactly a new game, as it's been available in South Korea since 2004, and the English version actually launched through Nexon back in 2007 and shut down about a year or so later in 2008. I'm actually somewhat excited for KartRider Drift, as I played it years ago back in 2007. I actually really liked it, as there really aren't many Mario Kart-esque games available on PC. It's also worth knowing that KartRider is insanely popular in South Korea. In fact, Nexon said that over 50% of Korea's population has played KartRider before, which is pretty nuts. I don't think any game in the West has any kind of penetration quite like KartRider has in Korea. But yeah, KartRider's closed beta begins on June 3rd, but the full release probably will happen later this year. No date on exactly when that is though. Up next, also KartRider related, but this time it's KartRider Rush Plus, which is the mobile version of the game, which launched this last week on May 12th globally. This is totally different from the KartRider Drift, and is mobile only and is available on both Android and iOS. Given the popularity of Mario Kart Mobile, I think there's room in the market for a competitor, especially since Mario Kart Mobile launched without multiplayer modes. KartRider Rush is of course launching with a ranked mode right from the get-go. Not sure why the plus is in the name, but yeah, it's KartRider Rush and it's available right now. Next up, the action MMORPG Blade and Soul Steel Bonds update launched on May 20th, and with it comes a continuation of the Steel Uprising storyline, as well as part 2 of the Steelbreaker raid, where players face off against Zinji and Hion for a chance to acquire a piece of the all-new Kingslayer outfit. Completing the Silver Steel Chapter 6 and the new raid also allows players to acquire new evolution materials, which can be used to upgrade their Thornbreaker weapons into the latest raid tier weapons, Silver Steel. And to celebrate the update, there's also going to be a bunch of new in-game events going on as well. And again, this update is launching on May 20th. I'm right along with some industry news from Square Enix, which released their Q1 2020 earnings report this last week, as well as their full fiscal year earnings, which ran from March 31st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. And most interestingly, the company's MMO revenues were an all-time high this year at 40.1 billion yen, which is about 370 million US dollars, with MMO profits coming in at about 180 million US dollars, which puts the MMO division's profit margin at about 50%, which is incredible considering the company-wide margins are only 12.6%. So MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV are much more profitable than other games from Square Enix. It's also awesome to see MMO revenues and profits are at an all-time high for Square Enix. And while mobile games are definitely getting a bigger and bigger piece of the gaming pie, PC MMOs are still a giant market for Square Enix. On the mobile game front, mobile game revenues also jumped to an all-time high of 106 billion yen, or about 1 billion US dollars. But profits were only about 190 million dollars for mobile games. So MMOs and mobile games made practically the same amount of profit, despite mobile game revenues being about 2.5 times higher, which shows just how much more profitable PC MMORPGs can be. Up next, the Elder Scrolls Online previewed its vampire skill line changes in a new video. The ESO Greymore update also includes feature changes to the vampire and werewolf skill lines, with these skills playing a much bigger role in the Greymore update. There's also a new skill called Blood Frenzy being introduced. The Greymore update itself is launching on PC and Mac on May 26th, and on consoles on June 9th. The game is also finally launching on Google's cloud gaming platform Stadia in the coming months. They said the Greymore is coming to Stadia specifically, so it might be launching around the same day as the PC release, though it's been a little bit nebulous, but regardless, it should be available on Stadia soon. Next up, Gaming announced that the upcoming ArcheAge expansion Garden of the Gods is launching on June 11th. The Garden of the Gods expansion features a new zone, complete with new quests and raids, 59 new quests to be specific. The update also improves on the castle building system and will allow players to pick a spot in the new zone to build their own castle. And to celebrate the announcement, anyone who logs into ArcheAge between now and June 11th gets a free brown Shiba Inu pet, so yeah, log into ArcheAge and get those doges, boys. And again, the update itself is launching on June 11th. Now, speaking of updates, the action MMORPG Neverwinter launched its Rages of Bell episode this last week on May 14th, and includes a new storyline, which continues the Infernal Descent story. It'll feature some new encounters, rewards, and more. Keep in mind, the Cryptic is labeling this an episode update, which is more focused on thematic experiences and less on systems and mechanics, so it's not a huge update, but an update nonetheless. And surprise, surprise, the game's player base numbers have increased significantly in the last 40 or 50 days or so, thanks to those coronavirus quarantines, with the game averaging about 2,600 or so players online at a given time over the last 30 days on Steam alone, which is definitely a big improvement over the last few months. Next up, Hunters got a big buff this last week in Lord of the Rings Online. Update 26.1 launched this last week, and one of the game's most underpowered classes, the Hunter, got some much needed buffs. And besides the Hunter changes, Update 26.1 also made some tweaks and bug fixes to Captain, Runekeeper, and Warden classes, along with some general fixes and improvements. Lord of the Rings Online is a bit of an oldie now. It's 13 years old, but it's still going fairly strong. The game has been averaging about 1,300 or so players online at any given time on Steam alone, and those numbers are up significantly over the last 2 months, again due to the coronavirus quarantines. Next, apparently Riot Games banned over 8,000 cheaters in Valorant, according to a tweet by the game's anti-cheat engineer. And in case you missed it, there's been a lot of anger about just how common cheating has become in Valorant, despite the game not even launching yet. So seeing that the game's anti-cheat engine is at least banning and catching some of the cheating is a good sign. Cheating in FPS games has always been a problem, but I think we got a lot of people upset at Riot that they were kind of bragging about how just amazing their anti-cheat system was, and despite this, many pros have tweeted that they're seeing way too many cheaters in the game so far. So maybe it's not a good idea about bragging about your anti-cheat system before you have a chance to actually test it out, but hopefully the anti-cheat system only gets better from here. Next, something we forgot to mention earlier, the voxel Minecraft-like MMORPG Trove launched a major update earlier this month, which introduced a new game mode, Delves, which lets players explore procedurally generated caves. Up to 8 players or even solo, players can explore these mysterious caves and battle enemies and unlock new gear and other goodies. A new tier of gear, Crystal 4, has also been added to the game, and the Tome Razor class has also been overhauled. Now, Trove is making a big comeback due to the coronavirus, as the average current player base on Steam is up to about 4,000 now, versus about 1,900 in January, so the player base has more than doubled since the start of the year, which is actually pretty incredible. I mean, a lot of MMOs, a lot of online games are doing really well now because of these lockdowns. Next and last bit of news this week is also industry news, and it's about NCSoft. The South Korean gaming giant reported their Q1 2020 earnings report this last week, and it showed a huge jump in sales and profits. In fact, both revenues and profits were at record high levels, with total sales coming in at a cool $592 million for the quarter. The huge jump in profits and revenues was almost entirely due to the continued success of the Lineage franchise. More specifically, the launch of Lineage 2M in South Korea. I mean, just look how much revenue is coming from Lineage M and Lineage 2M alone by themselves. Those two games combined make a cool $450 million out of a total of $592 million for the entire company. So these two games alone make up like 75% of the entire company's revenues. So these two games make $450 million, and every other NCSoft game combined makes about $92 million. A further breakdown shows that Guild Wars 2 made about $10 million for the quarter, Aeon did about $8 million, and Blade and Soul did about $16 million. All of these games are peanuts compared to Lineage, and as always, a vast majority of NCSoft's revenue come from South Korea, as it always has. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys next time. Later guys.